Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mummy and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Welcome to episode 346 of the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. We're glad to have you with us. We've got big news this week coming out of California with regard to pass rates and passing scores. We're going to cover all of that. My co-host Megan will be with me in a minute. We'll update you on that. We also have some breaking news from the National Conference of Bar Examiners about the July 2021 exams. So we'll be covering that for you as well. And we also have some study strategies and tools that we want to talk about today, particularly for those of you who are in that last push of your studies towards the February 2021 exam, which is in just a few weeks from now. If this is your first time on the podcast, welcome. We are glad to have you here with us. We produce these episodes every week in both video and audio format. If you'd like to watch the video, just go to celebrationbarreview.com/346. That's the episode number. If you'd like to listen to your podcast, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, radio.com. You can even get it on Amazon Podcasts. So lots of different places. Make sure that you subscribe. And one of the reasons you want to subscribe is to make sure that you get all the bonus episodes. We are, in fact, going to be coming out in the next few days with a bonus podcast talking specifically about the new bar exam that's coming 4 years from now. This is something from the National Conference of Bar Examiners. It's going to completely upend the bar exam world. And Megan and I sat down to do a fairly in-depth look at that new exam, what it is, how it's going to work, what you want to be prepared for, and how it will impact you over the next few years. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that information. I also want to let you know about a free training webinar that we're offering. It's called Now is the Best Time to Take the Bar Exam. And boy, that's really true with these changes we've got coming down the pike. Now, this free training webinar will look at the current state of the bar exam. We'll examine what's going on in big states like California, New York, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and across the uniform bar exam to tell you what's happening right now, what we expect to happen for the balance of 2021, and how you can be prepared to take advantage of that. This training is completely free. We're offering it Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, that's 2 p.m. Pacific time, and you do need to register. There's a button in the show notes for either the video or the audio version of the podcast, or you can go to celebrationbarreview.com/now for all the details. One of the great things about this particular webinar training is that I come on live for the last 10 or 15 minutes to answer any specific questions you might have about what's going on in the bar exam or about the strategy that we offer you during the training. And we're going to offer you some free bonuses worth almost $500. So it's really a terrific opportunity for you. We've had thousands of people go through the training since we began it back in March of 2020. So I hope you'll join us this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Go to celebrationbarreview.com/now, or just click on the registration button in the show notes, and then we'll see you on Saturday. All right, there was a lot of information to share with our students this week. Big news out of California, big news for July 2021, and obviously lots of suggestions that we have for people as they begin to study in this last phase leading up to the February exams. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Everybody, welcome. We are glad to have you with us.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a little hard to believe that we're only 3 weeks away from the bar exam, isn't it?
It is. It's unbelievable. I feel like, because obviously in California, we just got results only a few weeks earlier. So yeah, it's really crazy that now we're getting ready and gearing up for the February exam, but very excited to be back on a normal schedule now with the February exam and the July exam. Those should not be changing. No more of that. So yeah, thankfully the worst is behind us, I think.
Yeah, I think so. We get to be creatures of habit. You've been doing this for almost 10 years. I've been doing this for 30 years. And there's a rhythm to our work. And you don't realize until the rhythm gets changed how much it screws you up. No, not yet. No, thank you all for being patient with us. I think we as a team had to do some adjusting in our mental framework. Our mindset coach, June, was working with us to say, okay, now look, here's where you are. Here's what you got to be doing. It goes both ways. Oh, I know we've got lots of questions from folks and lots to talk about, but we've got some big news in the bar review world, bar exam world. So why don't we go ahead and start with that?
Yeah, so really great news, I think, out of California. The California Supreme Court signed off on giving they're calling it a provisional licensure to anyone who scored between a 1390 and a 1439 on any Cal Bar exam administered between February 2020 and July 2015. So basically you'll have to there's some other requirements of working with a supervised practice for a certain number of hours, and then you will be a fully barred member. I think that's great news. Anyone who, if that applies to you, definitely let us know. And congratulations. So exciting. I think it felt like a really fair choice on the part of the California bar examiners and the California Supreme Court to extend the new lower score to back 5 years.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. One is, you've been saying for some time, Megan, you thought this was going to happen, the retroactive piece. And I've been I'll believe it when I see it guy. But I'm glad that the examiners made and the courts made this decision. It's fair and it's equitable. There's not a reason to think that if 1390 is an acceptable score today, that it was a less acceptable score for the last 10 exams. The number has been so outrageously high for so long. And sometimes I think people really get confused about this scoring methodology. If we put it in the context of the 400-point UBE scale, just to keep things in mind, you could pass a UBE with 260. That would be enough to pass in 6 states. And then we would jump up to 266 for New York and DC and Illinois and a bunch of other states. And then if we were converting Georgia and Texas before they went to UBE, it'd be a 270 in those states. It would be a 272 in Florida. And then it would have been a 288 in California. And now it would be a 279. So even at 279, you're 7 points higher than it is in Florida. You're still 19 points higher than it would be in Alabama, Missouri, a bunch of other states. And that's just not fair. There's not a reason. I have great respect for those of you that are members of the California bar, but you're not 17 points smarter, tougher, stronger, faster. And so the number really isn't a fair number to begin with. And so at least this was some movement back to acknowledge that failing in California. So that's my first comment. And my second comment is that if you are impacted by this, there are a couple of things to be aware of. As Megan just said, there are some other requirements that you need to meet. But if you meet them, as we understand the rule today, it means you will not have to take the California bar. You're done. You will be barred. You will be admitted. And so that is fantastic news. But I'm not sure that the Cal Bar is going to go looking for you from those past 10 exams. Am I correct? They're not searching you out. So it's going to be on you to affirmatively apply and show the score. Okay, I think it's important to do that. We will notify our past students. We've already heard from a few who qualified. And I'm really curious, have you seen any projections about the number of people that might be impacted by this?
Yes, they know the number. I think I want to say it's something like 2,000 or 3,000, but they do know the exact number, obviously, because they know who they have records of the scores that people have gotten on the bar exam. So now it's a question of how many of those people are interested in taking part in this program. It's not automatic. So let's say since then you moved to Maryland and you are barred in Maryland and you took the UB. Oh, Jennifer says 2,000. Thanks. So, you're not going to then want to come back to California and work under a supervised attorney for 100 hours, or even if they would let you in another jurisdiction, but you're already in practice and doing what you need to do. Would be sure that not all 2,000 people will take advantage of this program, but certainly there are many people for whom this is really a life-changing decision. So it's great news.
Yeah. And I will say, you're fond of saying, Megan, if you had been covered by this, you're going to be happy. Okay. Even if you've been studying and working and so on. And we had some people in that situation who were studying and preparing for the February exam who got this news and said, oh my God, I'm in. And their reaction was precisely what Megan had talked about. They were like, yeah, I spent money and time and energy, but yeah, the result has been accomplished. And that's a good thing. In fact, a couple of them said, maybe I'll take another bar now that I'm licensed in California. I'm like, okay, sure. In any event, it is good news. And I think the other question that we're getting a little bit of is, will the score continue to drop? I haven't heard anything that would suggest below 1390 right now. Have you?
No, definitely not.
No. I mean, I think this is where they're sitting for now. I think there will be more discussion about what the bar exam is and how it's scored and what it comprised of. But for now, this is the number that we're at, and this is where we are going forward. But it is a more manageable number. There is no doubt about it. And we certainly saw that with the October exam. I expect we'll see it. I think we're going to see it in a big way in February, just because I don't think many people are going to take the February exam.
Yeah, people are really not happy, especially in California. The thought of having to go from getting your results in January to taking the February bar, that is just an insane turnaround. And so for all the people who unexpectedly failed in the October exam, they are often feeling a little overwhelmed and there's no way to prepare now for the February exam. So rather take it in July. We're also seeing a lot of people who are really had every intention of sitting for the February exam, but now that we've gotten a little bit closer, are feeling unprepared because of the short window in between the two exams. So yeah, we anticipate that the numbers will be pretty low for the February exam.
Yeah. I think it could be the lowest attended, the smallest number of applicants that we might have seen in a decade or more nationwide. But California, I'm sure, is going to be extraordinarily low. We would normally see I think about 8,000 or 9,000 people in the February exam. If we get half that, I'd be surprised. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. So that's the news out of California. Big news, good news for some people, but generally I think it's just good news for everybody. If you're taking the Cal Bar in February of 2021, rub your hands in glee, because I think it is the opportunity of a lifetime.
All right, great. So let's talk about a few different options for people. We've been getting a lot of questions lately.
Before we do that, can I just add one announcement that just crossed my desk just now? The National Conference of Bar Examiners just announced this morning that they are going to offer online bar exams in July of 2021. So there you go. Many of you were wondering, would they completely ditch that and go back to in-person? The answer seems to be no. They're going to do what they did in February. They're going to offer online and in-person. It'll be up to each jurisdiction to choose. So looks, as you said at the beginning, Megan, the world is stabilizing a little bit. This seems to be the world we're in. February and July, online and in-person jurisdictions will choose. It seems to me that the big states will continue to be online. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing any large state that's going to an in-person exam right now. So there you go. So that's the news. And so there we go. Okay, sorry, go ahead. No, I never get to break news. I never get to do that.
Call you Walter Cronkite, though, right? Most of
the people on this call won't even know who that was. That's the same. Yeah. Right.
We're just 2-3 weeks away from the exam, and people feeling, what do I need to be doing? I think I need to be doing more than I am. What are my options? Is there anything else that I should be adding to my studies? So let's talk, Jackson, you want to talk about, to begin with, the nutshells and the bar maps?
Yeah, there are two products that I think are particularly helpful near the end of your study. The first is the multi-state video nutshells, and June can put that offer up. The video nutshells are a set of 7 videos. They run 25 minutes in length. Actually, there's 8 videos because we did 25 minutes in FedCiv Pro and 25 in jurisdiction. But in any event, they're 25-minute long videos, and the video has the nutshells of law that Megan and her team has developed and that have come along, actually first started back in the 70s by our predecessor company. We have those nutshells on the screen for you to read, but then there is also a compressed voice reading them, and it happens very quickly. You just run it, and you can run it in a loop over and over again. It is a terrific way to refresh yourself on the key principles and rules of each of the multi-state subjects. The video nutshells go in your permanent library. You can use them anytime you want, as often as you want. We're not ever going to take them away. I would strongly recommend that you add them to your course in this last period for the best, most efficient review of the material. So that's the first item. The second product that we think is really valuable is bar maps. And I know, Megan, you're a huge proponent of mind mapping. Bar maps contain mind maps for every subject. In addition, they have what we call interactive videos. Now, these are the full-length video lectures that we do in every subject, but we've broken them out into anywhere from 6 to, 8 to 12 different topics for each subject. And in those, you can just go in and find the small thing you don't know. I was working on an evidence lecture today, and I was going through not the hearsay. It's hard. It's hard stuff. And if I wanted to just study not the hearsay as compared to hearsay exceptions, it's really nice to be able to go into the interactive video and find not the hearsay and get just that section of the lecture. So that's in bar maps, along with the mind maps. And then something that we added recently called the Fast Finish Audio, which is the audio soundtrack to the full lecture compressed without changing and turning my voice or your voice into chipmunk voices. And you can listen to a 3-hour lecture in about 90 minutes. And so they're really fabulous tools. And I would recommend that you do this. If you've not created mind maps, this is a quick way to get some mind maps built. But I know you like mind maps. You want to add anything to that discussion?
Yes, that no matter what, you should be doing mind maps. So it's completely free. If you want to do the bar maps, those give you, there's all these extras. You're going to start out with the mind maps already created that you'll then add to. It gives you all these other tools, but if you're not getting that, don't use that as an excuse to not mind map. You should be mind mapping. All you need is like a blank Word document or a blank piece of paper, and just have at it. Do it however makes sense in your own brain. We have seen every different kind of mind map under the sun. It doesn't matter how you do it. It matters that you do it. That is the key, is the creation of it and studying it, repeating it over to yourself, things like that. That is the helpful tool. So please do it no matter what, whether you're buying bar maps or you're going to do it on your own. Every single person should be doing some form of mind mapping.
Yeah. And then I said there were 2 products, but there's a third that I want to just let you know about. There's a masterclass called Abundance for Bar Study. This is a 90-minute masterclass that I recorded. It is a on-demand webinar, and I have never done anything that got as much positive reactions. Take you 90 minutes to work through how you should be setting your mindset for studying in these last 3 weeks and also taking the bar exam. And when I tell you that students love it, I'm really understating it. I've had people who have said it's the best money they ever spent on bar review. It's the most productive piece of 90-minute material that they've ever been through. It was developed in conjunction with Paul Sheely at Learning Strategies, using his magnum opus work. And then he worked with me and we developed this for the bar exam. I'm very proud of it. And I would really encourage you, if you've not been through the masterclass, to get into it. If you did take the masterclass before, it's always available to you. I would go back and review it. I've made that suggestion to some of my students, and some of them tell me that they listen to parts of it every day. So I would encourage that as well. The 3 tools then for narrowing down here at the end are the nutshells, the bar maps, and the Abundance for Masterclass. Those are all things that will enhance your study. Many of you are not taking the exam in February. And so you're thinking to yourselves, well, what am I supposed to do? Can I get these tools? Yes, you could absolutely. I think bar maps would be helpful for you right now, because as Megan said, doing mind maps is really useful. The Abundance for Bar Study Masterclass, really useful. Do you need the nutshells right now? Probably not. But the other 2 would be helpful.
I think this is a good question in the chat box that just came up as well. Can we take the online exam from anywhere in the world, or should I be in the state physically, or the states? It says the states physically, so meaning the U.S.
It is a great question. The answer is you can take it anywhere in the world, as long as you've got a stable internet connection and they can do the proctoring. You'll be subject to all the same requirements of a quiet room and no disruption or disturbance and nothing else in the room. Depending on the jurisdiction you're in, there are different rules. But there is no jurisdiction that I'm aware of that is prohibiting out of the U.S. applications. So I think this is a huge benefit for foreign attorneys, not having to travel. Now, remember, you will have to do it at whatever the time frame. You'll have to make it, maybe that you'll be taking the bar exam in the middle of the night where you live. That won't change. They're not going to make that adjustment for you. But outside of that, I'm not aware of any restriction.
All right. Okay, let's turn to some study strategies questions. Someone in the chat box asked, what should July takers do right now as a best use of time? Should we start studying early, photo read, or wait until April or May? no, don't wait till April or May. You're going to give me a heart attack.
Oh, don't do that. All right. Give us both a heart attack. Look, keep your foot on the pedal. Go through your studies. Continue to follow the syllabus. Do the reading. If you aren't a photo reader, get into photo reading. Start your photo reading now and get going with it. Start bar maps now. Get going with mind mapping. Those things are all important. Go through the lectures. Do the question practice. Write the essays. So there's a lot of things that you should be doing. You need to be studying right now. And some of you who wait till April or May, the reason we're having a heart attack is if you wait until May, guess what? You're in a 90-day window again to take the bar exam. And then you're going to say, I can't be ready for the exam. And you're going to defer. Don't do that. Use this time. This is your secret weapon. And it's your time to learn to photo read. It's your time to do the abundance class. It's your time to do the personal writing workshop. It's your time to get through material. About 10 to 15 hours a week of study is about average for a July bar taker. And for those of you taking the exam in February of 2022, my advice is exactly the same. Start your work now.
Great. All right. I just want to move over to, we got a lot of substantive questions this last week, and we don't answer substantive questions in the webinar because that would then take over the entire webinar. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit is, I think a lot of these substantive questions, there's really a broader principle, not principle of law, but study principle that they point to. How do I deal with the broad concepts if I'm still struggling with them after listening to the lecture and reading the outline?
Yeah, I think mind mapping is one of the key ways to do this. You take that section, you open it up. If you're a photo reader, you rapid read or super dip and skim that section. You go to your mind map. If you've got the principles listed there, I think seeing it visually is a big help. You could use the bar maps and the interactive lecture to get that part of the lecture again. So if you're trying to figure out due process, here's a section on substantive due process. Here's one on procedural due process. Look at those two things. Look at your outline. Look at the questions and your mind maps. Ultimately, if you don't understand it, move on. I will never understand the rule against perpetuities. I just won't. And so there's a point at which it just doesn't help me to spend more hours. I've spent 30 years trying to understand it, and I don't understand it. I can say the words, but I don't really understand it. And so at a certain point, you just have to acknowledge that's not where you're going to be strong. And if you see a question on that, mark your default answer and move on. If it's an essay, do exactly what we talk about. Show both sides of the dispute, argue it as best you can, and move on. It won't be the difference between passing and failing the exam, but it could keep you from passing if you spend too much time obsessing about it at this period of time. You want to be able to really keep moving through the material right now and not fixate on just one topic. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that what you need is there. You have all the tools. So for instance, if there is, you said due process, if you are confused about due process, you need to go back. I would start with the outline. Go back into the outline and reread it. Maybe look up and see, are there any examples? We love to give examples in there, so check on that. Go back into the lecture if you need to and find that specific piece where they're talking about due process. We're working on things to make that easier to do. If you have the bar maps, that's much easier to do, to go back into that spot in the lecture. The tools are there though. And now you've got to stop, take a breath, and digest the information. So that's where we really suggest things like the mind maps. I think it's really helpful to digest it.
And, okay.
Great. All right. So to finish up, Jackson, speak really quickly on the tendency that students have in these last few weeks to create problems where no problems exist and what they can do to fight against that.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? This has been the most ridiculous 12 months of bar exam that I've seen in 30 years by a wide margin. So if you haven't felt stressed out or freaked out, what's wrong with you? Everybody has felt that. We've felt it. We know that many of you have felt it. It is hard to keep your focus in the midst of everything that's going on. We've talked about that and how challenging that is. There's a world blowing up around us on so many levels. And here we are talking about the bar exam every week. And I think right now you have to compartmentalize and realize that you've got 3 weeks of work to the bar exam, and then the world will open up for you again. You can re-engage with so many other parts of your life, your family, your work, your friends, social activities, social media, social justice, all of those things. But for right now, for 3 weeks, you need to be on the bar exam. This needs to be the thing you're doing. Use the Abundance Masterclass. Those tools are incredibly helpful to keep you focused and to keep you balanced. And I strongly recommend them. In general, show yourself grace. Show yourself some kindness. This is hard. It is really hard. The bar exam has never been harder than it is right now. The world has never been crazier in our lifetimes than it is right now. That's a bad combination. People overcome it. And that's why we do these videos and interviews with successful students. It's to reassure you that you can do it. They're just like you. You can do it. We have all the confidence in the world in you. We know that you are all working really super hard, and we're here to support you. So if you've got to have a primal scream in digital cyberspace, have it. But know that we are here to help you get over the finish line. We're working for your success, and we believe that you can be successful. But we need you to believe you can be successful. And if you take that belief and you really plant that flag firmly in the ground, it's going to help you so much in these last 3 weeks. And just tell the people around you, look, by the end of February, this part is going to be over and I'll be back. So that's my advice.
Yeah. Let people go, get back to your studies and don't take that foot off the gas, whether you're February or July or February of next year. Keep going, whatever pace makes sense for you. Don't give up. You guys are doing great. You're really hanging in there. And we're really proud of all the work that we're seeing.
We really are. And we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll be a week closer, but I promise you the exam won't feel closer than it does today. It will be closer, but it won't feel closer. It's as close as it's going to feel to you right now. So hang in there, everybody. For those of you taking the bar exam later, we're glad to have you with us as well. Have a great week doing all the things you're doing. Get to those group coaching calls, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Megan. Glad to have you here, and we'll see you all again. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
But I hope that was helpful information for you. Obviously, a lot going on. I want to remind you about a couple of things. First, we are going to be doing a special bonus podcast about the NCBE's new testing task force recommendations. These are the major overhaul changes to the bar exam coming over the next 4 to 5 years. It is significant information. You're going to want to be aware of that. And so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on that. It'll be coming out in the next week or so. In addition, we want to remind you about our free training webinar. Now is the best time to take the bar exam. This particular webinar is coming out on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. You can register by going to the show notes or by going to celebrationbarreview.com/now. Remember that I'll be doing a live Q&A at the end of that training to answer any questions that you might have. I think you're going to find it really helpful. So I look forward to seeing you this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. All right, everybody, have a great study week. Those of you getting ready for the exam in just a few weeks in February, good luck to you. Keep your foot on the pedal, as I said, and we'll see you next week along the Extra Mile.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.